Let me read to you a passage from the 13th chapter of St. Mark's Gospel, verses 33 to 37. It's the Gospel for the first Sunday of Advent, Year B. St. Mark writes, Jesus said to his disciples, "Be on guard, be alert. You do not know when that time will come. It is like a man going away. He leaves his house and puts his servants in charge, each with his assigned task, and tells the one at the door to keep watch. Therefore, keep watch, because you do not know when the owner of the house will come back, whether in the evening or at midnight, or when the cock crows or at dawn. If he comes suddenly, do not let him find you sleeping. What I say to you, I say to everyone, watch." That's from Mark chapter 13, verses 33 to 37. And what does it suggest to us? Well, I would like to make an application in respect to the gift we have of personal freedom. You know, I remember some time back a journalist covering a trouble spot where Islamic extremists were active. He was captured by the Islamists. He disappeared, and subsequently a ransom was demanded for his release. A video was also released in which he pleaded that the ransom be met. As I remember it, the ransom was provided, and so he was set free. The interesting thing was that he told the public subsequently that he was forced to convert to Islam. By that he meant that he was threatened with death if he did not convert, so he converted. Of course, he would have abandoned Islam as soon as he gained his freedom, but his being forced to convert not only said things about the Islamists, but also about himself. In a sense, he was not forced. Rather, he was threatened with consequences if he did not do as his captors demanded. He remained free to refuse and to suffer the results of bearing witness to the Christian faith. He chose to save his life by avoiding to stand for what the Christian knows to be the truth. In our Gospel passage today, our Lord solemnly warns his disciples to be on guard, to be alert. And as we read what he says to them, he says to everyone, watch. One application of our Lord's directive is that we are to watch and be on guard, lest in the face of difficulty we be found unready and not disposed to choose what is right. I remember hearing of a teenage girl in the United States some years ago. She found herself in a situation in which she was threatened by a crazed young man with a gun. He asked her if she was a Christian. She said that she was. He then said to her, crazed as he was, that if she did not renounce her faith, he would shoot her dead. She said she would not renounce it, and he shot her. The young man was crazed and perhaps scarcely responsible for what he was doing. But she exercised her freedom in a supreme way when the moment suddenly came. Somehow she was on guard against the temptation not to make this noble and heroic act of personal choice. She was ready to choose the supreme good. She had true freedom, and she exercised it. Freedom is the power given by God to perform deliberate actions on one's own responsibility. It is this which is distinctive to human acts, and freedom grows the more one does what is good. A high school student sees that the majority of pupils in her religious studies class are raising harsh objections against the religious stand of the teacher. She agrees with the teacher, but fears to take a stand with her teacher against her peers. Out of human respect, she keeps silent. She is not vigilant against the temptation of bowing to peer pressure, and is ensnared into a sad and safe inactivity. That's one example. The gift of freedom is the most precious gift we have, and because of it, we have a conscience or a sense of duty. An animal has no freedom. It acts by instinct, an instinctive sense of what is best for itself. It will act by that instinct. It has no power to know and to choose the objective good, and so it has no sense of duty. It cannot be held responsible for its actions as the human being can be. If an animal kills a person, it is put to death, but its killing is not, we don't call it an execution. Its killing is simply the elimination of a danger to human life. But man has freedom, and by his freedom he can choose not only what is good, but the highest of all goods, namely God. Indeed, our freedom attains its proper perfection when it is directed towards God. And that is why our freedom is our greatest natural resource in the attainment of sanctity. A saint is the freest of persons, and the one with the greatest power of freedom in all of history was Jesus Christ. Of course, we who are fallen need the grace of God to attain union with God. But the natural foundation of our attaining God is our own freedom to choose God and to persevere in this free choice by the power of grace. For this to happen, what we must do is be on guard against all temptation to sin. We must be vigilant as we read in today's Gospel. Temptations come from within our fallen natures and from the enticements of the world and the devil. We abuse our freedom when we choose to sin, and this choice leads to the deepest slavery of all. We must be on constant guard against temptation. In warning us to watch in today's Gospel, our Lord warns us against sin. One of the greatest values of the West is that of freedom. In many other parts of the world, freedom is not highly regarded. It is seriously restricted, including and especially religious freedom. But the West tends to equate freedom with license. License to do as one pleases. True freedom is the power to choose the good, and the more the good is chosen, the more freedom grows. The good is what is true, and the Christian knows that it is Christ who has revealed what is true and therefore what is good. Christ himself is the supreme good. The Christian exercises his freedom in choosing Christ and what Christ has revealed to be true, and in being on guard against anything that could tempt him to fail to exercise his freedom in this way.